What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Austin in China coming at you from Sichuan University. And I've just gotten off work. It's nice Tuesday, or I should say it was a nice Tuesday as far as work is concerned. It's gotten pretty cold the last few days. The weather has finally snapped and we've gotten into winter just all of a sudden, just within the last week, I guess, and within the last week or so, we just hit winter, putting on a little bit of winter weight, but that's the way it goes, right? Put on a little winter weight and then you lose it again in the summer. that's life. But in this video, I thought I would answer a few questions, a lot of questions actually from Ivan. Ivan left a bunch of questions, a nice list for me during the Q&A video for my 25K, I think is what it was, 25,000 subscribers. So I figured I'd answer a few of Ivan's questions while I had a little bit of time. It's about 4:30 or 5, something like that. And yeah, I'm just walking to the North Gate where I'll just go home from here. So I've got his questions. We can get started. So, Ivan, let's shout at you for a little bit. What is your life story? How did you end up in China? Okay, well, life story's a bit long. Born in Mississippi, lived there till I was 10. Moved to Texas when I was about 10 and a half or so. And then went to school some more. And then I moved to China, basically. So how did I end up in China? I actually made an entire video about this topic. I was at university. I was at East Texas Baptist University, and I had this professor who, he just really loved China. He loved talking about China and talking about the history and the culture and the language and all of this sort of stuff. It was all China, China, China. He loved it. And he just he had a big impact on me and he influenced me, and I ended up coming to China as just part of an exchange program. I was the first student at Lanzhou University of Technology, first ever foreign exchange student. And that was, and the rest is basically history. I have a whole video about the topic if you'd like to watch that video. So I'll put a little card up above, up above me so you can watch it. So wait, here, let me switch hands real quick. All right, there we go. That's much more comfortable. What was your job progression like? So I started off at a really small university, just relatively speaking, unknown university called Lanzhou Jiaotong University. So it used to be a railway institute. It was an engineering school, still is an engineering school chiefly, and materials, engineering and material science. So I worked there for a couple years. Then I moved to Tianjin, where I went to Tianjin Foreign Studies University. And after that, after a year there, I went to Southwestern University of Finance and Economics here in Chengdu. Well, shady stuff, shady stuff. People ask me about that every now and then. And went to work at I2, which is a training school. And then after being there for about a year, I ended up at Sichuan University, and I love it. Sichuan University is such a great place to work. It's why I've been here for 5 years. I've never had a job for 5 straight years. So I think that should tell you something. Sichuan University is doing something right, I think. It's really good. What are the opportunities like for non-ESL teachers? Well, there's plenty out there, actually. There's plenty out there. I taught like a survey of Western civilizations course at SWUFI, Southwestern University of Finance and Economics. I also taught like rhetoric and composition. It's not exactly English, but it is English. It was English for a specific purpose, I suppose. I've seen teachers for psychology, teachers for physics and math, computer science, for like homeroom biology, all sorts of things, especially for international schools. Foreigners have, they can teach their subject matter at an international school. That's a pretty common thing as far as teaching goes. So you can totally do it. But if you're going to work at an international school, you should probably have a teaching license. Well, not probably, you need to have a teaching license if you're going to teach at an international school. So get that American teaching license, or Canadian, or wherever you're from. Get one from your home country. So definitely. Now, compared to the West, is the food really all that spicy and hot? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's, sorry, okay. I think it's, I wouldn't say it's a myth, but I think that it's overstated. I think it's overstated because the food is spicy here, but like, say if you're from Texas, for example, and you're used to eating a lot of Mexican food with like jalapenos and habaneros and things like that. If you like Indian food, if you've ever tried a ghost pepper, if you're that sort of person, then the food here, at least in Sichuan, is not gonna scare you. It's not gonna scare you. It's a slightly different type of spiciness. It's not, I don't know how else to say it. It's just a different type of spiciness. And it's also paired with like numbing spice, the like huajiao, the Sichuan peppercorn. So the spice hits you in a different sort of way than it would with like a habanero or a jalapeno or a ghost pepper. It's just different. I can't speak for everywhere in China, but Chengdu and Chongqing, it ain't that bad. It ain't that bad. Biggest hurdles when it came to setting up your life in China. All right, let's talk about that. So when I set up my life in China, biggest hurdles, finding a place, I suppose. Finding, when I started getting jobs where they didn't provide an apartment, that was a big thing. That was a big issue for me to fight against, was just like navigating the real estate market. And I would say with that, the solution is just get a local to help you. Have your school provide someone for you, or just find a friend. Getting started is the hardest part, especially in terms of language. I would say invest as much time as you can, invest as much money as you can, reasonably speaking, to learning Chinese before you get here. It's going to be hard because you're not going to be in that environment. So try and invest in a tutor, a private tutor who is Chinese. Take some classes. It's going to save you so much time. It's going to like help kind of give you an edge when you get to China. So, I mean, I just cannot overstate it. It will make life so much easier and so much better if you speak Chinese, or speak at least a little bit of Chinese and know the basics before you get here. Because the people I notice who don't stick around, the people I notice who leave China the quickest, who leave China the angriest and get taken advantage of here, are those people who don't speak Chinese, who can't speak Chinese. And also just the people who don't get China. The people who don't understand China are the people who don't understand the Chinese language. I am of the perception that you can't really fully, truly understand China until you've learned Chinese. I believe that 100%. You can understand a few things, and you can understand things on a surface level, and maybe a few deep things, but you can't truly understand this country until you speak Chinese. You get things firsthand in Chinese. You hear people on the street. You hear what they say about you. You hear what they say about your country. You hear how they interact with each other. You hear all the nuances in the dialects and things like that. Learn some Chinese, basically. Learn some Chinese. All right. Are there any important differences or culture shocks that most people aren't aware of or don't talk about in videos as much? I wish I had looked at these questions beforehand now. People don't talk about the fact that in China, people just don't say no to you. I wish people would say no directly here. That gets mentioned, but I don't think it gets mentioned enough. How people will just not say no to you, or they won't just come out and ask what they want from you. They'll call you up and they'll chat for 30 or 45 minutes about unrelated things, and then they'll sort of kind of hint at what they want, and you have to guess it. It's like they're trying to incept you. They're trying to like get you to ask them for that thing. And I think something that's also not talked about enough is that there's no organization. There's no such thing as planning in advance. At least when it comes to like school stuff, like planning meetings or planning activities, planning in advance, just any sort of planning that happens, which makes very little sense to me because like the government here is very good at making plans. Like they have 5-year plans, they have 10-year plans, 50-year plans, 20-year plans. But a school can't seem to figure out when to plan a meeting more than 3 days in advance when other people have stuff to do. And I've experienced this within the media, within like local TV. I've experienced this within provincial TV. I've experienced this within national, like people who are a big deal. They contact me the day before, hey, we need you for this thing. Like, what? What? This is not once or twice or 3 times or 4 times. This has happened without exception. Without exception. I cannot think of a single well-planned thing that's happened in terms of like a trip or an event or a meeting. I can't think of one. That doesn't get talked about enough. So patience when you're here. That's something you definitely need to take into account. All right. Ooh, I wish that was nicer looking. It's really nice in the summer, but this time of year, yeah, things are kind of dying off. They're going into hibernation. Or I guess dormancy. They're going to be dormant in just in a hot second. These things are going to be all gone. So yeah, we're coming out the North Gate here, and we're going to hit the First Ring Road here in just a second. Let's see. Are working hours for the Chinese workers really as crazy as they seem? I mean, as far as I know, yeah. There's a reason that the 996 schedule was talked about so much last year and the year before last year. It's because it's a thing. 996, for those of you who don't know, is working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. That's a tough schedule. Understandably, like your work becomes your life, and that really sucks, man. And I wouldn't say like that's like normal, but it's not uncommon. I'll put it that way. It's not uncommon to meet someone with that schedule, particularly within certain fields. So check this out. There's the gate of the university. Oh, yeah, I like it. Like I said, Chuanda is a really nice place to work. I love Sichuan University. This is the First Ring Road. First Ring Road, one of the main arteries of this city. Very, very important street here in Chengdu. What are your plans for the future? I'm going to keep that to myself for a little bit because they're not really fully settled. So yeah, I don't know quite yet. I have some ideas. I have some plans. I'm shooting for the moon in a couple of these possibilities, and I got a couple of ones that might actually happen. So we'll see. Let's see. What are pros and cons of staying in China forever? Well, a con definitely would be that you don't have a lot of upward mobility. You can, especially if you're a teacher. If you're not teaching, then there's some upward mobility. But if you're teaching, you're pretty much just going to stay that teacher. You're going to stay as that just ESL, EFL teacher forever, which is one thing I don't like about Sichuan University. There's no way to kind of move up. They don't subsidize foreign teachers to go and get further education. They don't encourage that financially. I wish they would, because some other places do that. They'll pay for a PGCE, or they'll help you pay for a master's or something like that. That can be a definite con. If you don't feel like you're making any progress, well, then it'll make you leave. It'll make you leave, because everyone needs to feel like they can move up. A pro, on sort of the flip side of that, China can offer you a lot of stability. It can offer you a lot of stability, especially as a teacher. But just being a foreigner in China, yes, stability. You're always going to have a job here. That's fact. That's fact. They're always going to need English teachers. They're always going to need foreign teachers in some capacity. So if you come over here and you establish yourself within the community, you establish yourself as a serious teacher or a serious engineer or a serious curriculum designer, a serious person within the tech field, you're going to have a job. They can offer you stability and a phenomenal salary in comparison with your lifestyle. Cost of living versus your salary is amazing here. There's no other better place to be a teacher than China in terms of that. I can't think of one. I cannot think of one. In terms of the lifestyle you can live, the cost that lifestyle incurs, and what you make as a teacher, there's no place better that I can think of. If there is, put it in the comments, because maybe I'll go there. But yeah, you can feel stuck, and there are just some things that you can't do here. There are some things that you can't say here. You do have limits. You do just have limits as a foreigner here. And also the idea that you will never be Chinese. It can make some long-term expats really uncomfortable. The fact that you will always be sort of the Laowai, you'll always be the foreigner, no matter how long you stay here. You'll get the same sort of questions. Where are you from? How long have you been here? Can you use chopsticks? Can you eat spicy food? Are you accustomed to the life here? That sort of thing. You won't ever be accepted. You'll just be the foreigner. You might be accepted within, your small circle, but not by people at large, because you are so different than everyone else. This is the new opera house. This is the new Sichuan opera house. I don't know if it's Sichuan or if it's Chengdu. Let's see. Does it say? Oh yeah, it says Chengdu City Concert Hall. Yeah. So let's keep it going. Oh my gosh, where? I can't find my questions. And if you've never read it, there's a great essay by Mark Kiddo. I believe it's Mark Kiddo. He wrote, it's called "You'll Never Be Chinese." It's worth a read. There's some interesting food for thought in there. Because yeah, you stick out like a sore thumb in China. Have you ever lived in other countries, and how do they compare? I haven't. I've never lived in another country. Just China. Just China. I've lived in different areas of China at different stages of my life. I've seen the growth of the smartphone. I've seen the growth of mobile payments. I've seen so much of this country. And I can compare it to my experience back home, but I haven't lived in any other countries. So I unfortunately can't answer that question. And that is sort of a shame, because that's the last question. That is the last question. It's all that I have time for. I've got less than 2 minutes of battery left on this, or less than 2 minutes left on this card, the SIM card. So apparently the autumn season for the opera, or for the concert hall, is in full swing. It was in full. Oh yeah, so it's from September to December. So very cool. If you're in Chengdu, you can feel free to stop by the music hall. There you go. There it is. Bam, right in the heart of the city. So, and with that, I suppose I'm going to take my leave. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed that video, let me know. Smash that like button, leave a comment with some other questions or other responses to some of those questions if you've lived in China or have been to China. Let me know. Patreon is up as always, or buy me a coffee if you feel like throwing me $1 or $2. And if not, don't worry about it. Just live your life. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you all next time.